could be sitting on a gold mine.
Gold just hit its highest price ever, and stores are buying.
Well, we've got our first tornado warning of the night here, and Matthew, right when we were ending that video that we just did on Facebook, you were starting to note that the rotation was coming up near the Hardinsburg area. The rotation coming up and went with a tornado warning. So remember a couple of things here. You've got a tornado watch in effect until 1 a.m., and this is kind of what we thought we would be looking at. I know that we were in that hatched area for a tornado, but I think as you and I had spoken about this, we thought a quick spin would be the most likely scenarios to get a quick spin kind of tornado. Notice that tornado warning is in effect for Breckinridge County, and you can see we're kind of focused in here. Let me show you the severe thunderstorm warning, which includes Brandenburg, includes Irvington, includes Hardinsburg, but this is the area rotation. Matthew, I'm going to come over to the analyst here where you are looking at that, and on the left what we have is what we call traditional reflectivity, and on the right is rotation. And Matthew, the area of rotation is not an area we want to see it right now. It's over in Breckinridge County, the most populated part of the county.
Yeah, it's crossing over Hardinsburg here within just the next couple of minutes, directly along Highway 60 there in Breckinridge County. And this is what tends to happen when you have very fast moving winds. In a QLCS, they have these little bitty juts, small little hooks and crannies inside this main line of storms. And so at any point they could go tornado warned, because you get a very fast, brief spin up, but they're usually on the weaker side, like you already said. We mentioned this last night, that the most likely threat when it came to any tornado warnings would be a weak EF0, EF1 that's on the ground for only a short period of time.
Right. So Matthew, the rotation's right over Hardinsburg. We also have the ability to look inside that thunderstorm and see if there's any debris. So remember, it's right on top of Hardinsburg, and what Matthew's going to show you is what we call correlation coefficient. So Matthew would be looking in that sea of pink to see if there's any kind of what looks like a donut hole.
Right.
And that donut hole, we kind of know it would be debris. Why? Well, because raindrops are basically all the same size.
Yes.
So this product, if it's showing pink, it means all of the particles that it's seeing are the same size. If there's a tornado doing damage, that could now be things like your roof or trees, and they're not going to be the same size. Does the analyst show anything in there that says tornado touchdown right now?
Not yet, not whatsoever. So I'm very confident that we haven't seen one touchdown yet, and I'll go back a couple of scans just to double check that.
Okay.
I don't see anything, and the warning that they have put on there is a radar indicated tornado, meaning it's not radar confirmed, so they don't see that donut hole that he was talking about either, and it's not observed by any sheriff's officers out there or any other EMS personnel. So at this point, it's very typical for these little nooks and crannies to get tornado warned briefly, and then that warning will typically expire even before what they actually have put out the expiration date on this warning at this point.
So I'm going to go back over to StormView HD here, and what I want to do, Matthew, is I want to go to the wall, and I want to do a velocity scope here and zoom in a little bit on where that area of rotation is so we can spend some time. So let's punch hot to the wall so I can head over, and what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on that portion of the line where the rotation area is near Hardinsburg, and we're going to continue to watch this closely. Remember, things are going to peak up and come back down. This is a scenario where you traditionally get quick spins. In a line like this, Matthew, if you heard him, he referred to this as QLCS.
Yes.
The science term for that is quasi-linear convective system. What? It just means a broken line of thunderstorms. So these broken lines of thunderstorms, we look for kinks within that line. That area of rotation here is very, very close to the Hardinsburg area. So if you're in Hardinsburg right now, I need you to take your tornado safety precautions, which means I need you downstairs, underneath something, center of the house, and keep away from windows. Sometimes people have, difficulty remembering, okay, duck. Downstairs, D, you underneath something, C, center of the house, keep away from windows. I've been surveying tornadoes for probably 25 years, and I've seen case after case after case that when you're in the interior room of your house, those walls take the damage and you don't, and it's just a safe place to go. Matthew continues scoping up and down the line. Matthew, let's go down past Hardinsburg. I just am curious. Looking there, not seeing any rotation that's overly concerning. Matthew's moving us down. We're going to go through this in what's coming into Grayson County. Good scope, good scope. I'm seeing more straight line winds.
Yeah,
so that is a positive there. Good scope. Matthew, let's go back one time just to the north of Hardinsburg, because while it didn't look like tornado warn up here, there are some pops of higher, brighter colors here.
Yes.
So this would be in the northern part of Breckenridge and Meade County. So these blues that Matthew is noting right here are going to be 60-mile-an-hour winds, and those are going to move between Irvington and Brandenburg. So I need you also to be aware that 60-mile-an-hour winds are going to be possible for you. Matthew, if we could take it out to a little bit of a wider perspective, and I want to do a track of the wide so we can take the whole line, and then let's track the actual area of rotation afterwards. Intriguing about this, you'll notice that there is a little green line right here through Louisville that we call an outflow boundary. Means that there's been cold air that's pushed out ahead of the storms. So the storms that are south of around 64 would have the greatest propensity to be severe. So we're talking in the Georgetown area around 4 to 8 minutes from now. In Louisville, I'm going to push this out a little bit further. On the western side of Louisville, I'm going to say 20 to 25. E-Town, I'm going to put it close to 25 for you. And Shelbyville, I'm going to put it about 20. Actually, I'm going to say Shelbyville around 40 to 45, just so we can adjust for some speed changes. Yeah. And then I would like to, if we could, zoom back into Hardinsburg area and just do, instead of the wide track, let's just track that area rotation that we know is right now just near the Hardinsburg area, east at around 50 miles an hour. So we can get an accurate track on this, puts it in Garfield 6 minutes from now, in the Garysville area 10 minutes from now. It'll be in the Bewleysville area 14 minutes from now, and Big Spring 19 minutes from now. That is the only warning. Matthew, that outflow from the storms in southern Indiana look like they hopefully would protect the northern side of Louisville, but it is still quite warm on the southern side of Louisville, and that threat very likely is at least going to go into Bullitt County and may clip southern Jefferson County.
Yeah, so I'll draw the outflow boundary here for you guys because the green line is very faint. But as Mark was saying, if you were watching his Facebook feed earlier this evening, that outflow boundary is crucial for storms. It really has a big time impact. What can happen is that storms can fire up along outflow boundaries, or it can be rain-cooled air that's pushing out of a storm system, so it's going to help stabilize the air, even if you haven't seen a lot of storms yet. So just on the other side of the Ohio River, west of Louisville, we haven't seen a lot of storms there. But the air is starting to stabilize because of the cool air that's come out of the storms already. That rain-cooled air, it can really diminish the storm's impacts once it runs into that more stable air.
I think that's a very solid analysis on what we're looking at, and that's why the Weather Service is warning where they are. This is not just an accident. It is strategic, knowing exactly where that outflow boundary is and the cooler air is located. So your threats then, again, if you're asking me counties that I think have the greatest threat, South Jefferson, I would include, let's say Spencer County, Bullitt County, I would include Nelson, I would include Marion, Taylor, Greene, Adair, I would include Hart County. I would say the chance is definitely still there in LaRue, Hardin County, Grayson. You can just see on the northern edge of that, it's not that it doesn't exist, because it absolutely does. It's just some of that is now elevated thunderstorms, and elevated means that it still can produce tons of lightning. Some hail can come through that, some gusty winds, but when you're in the warmer air, everything is amplified a little bit. In particular, the winds. The winds can just get down to the ground without much of a barrier when we have the much warmer air, which is south of the boundary that Matthew just noted. Matthew, I'm going to come back over to you on the analyst real quickly.
It does.
We know the rotation just came out of Hardinsburg. How does it look right now?
It looks like it
worries me.
Picked up.
That is a problem.
Yes.
I think we've got a tornado that may be touching down right now.
Yeah, but this latest scan that's come in.
Can you just pop that off the warning there if you could?
Do that.
Okay, guys, there's significant rotation right now. That is significant rotation. What road is that, Matthew?
And that should be 60, yes, US 60, just to the east of Hardinsburg.
Okay, and we just got a second tornado warning.
And that's another area that we were analyzing earlier.
That's it. So. Okay, so now things are escalating, guys. So now if you're just east of Hardinsburg in the Custer area, south of Irvington, there's a tornado potentially moving towards you. Matthew, I'm going to come back over to HD real quickly.
Okay.
What I want you to do, can you check and see if those are confirmed via radar, or are we talking about radar indicated right now?
I think that both of these are still radar indicated.
Okay.
I'm going to bring up the Yes, radar indicated on both.
Okay, radar indicated on both. The one that is very, very concerning right now is the one that's just east of Hardinsburg, over Garfield. If you live in Garfield right now, and this is heading to the junction of 86 and 60, if you're living in the Garfield area, you have got to be in your tornado safe spot. Area of rotation is right on top of Garfield, heading towards Hensley, Rosetta, and it's going to go just a pinch north of the Graysville area. Tornado could be on the ground right now. It's not confirmed. Radar doesn't say tornadoes on the ground, but it is a concerning amount of rotation we're seeing. I want to take you north where the new tornado warning was just issued. This is the stuff that we talked about. That area of rotation that was straight, you can kind of see it goes from straight to not straight very fast. And a part of this happens as that line buckles. As the line starts to get pushed out in the middle, it bows. And what happens is you then get these kinks within the line. And Matthew can show you exactly where we're looking at, where that area of rotation is. That one's going just south of the Brandenburg area, heading towards Ekron. Ekron, Buck Grove, and Graham. These are areas where you need to be aware. I'm going to head over to the wall really quickly because I want to do, again, a track. And Matthew, we know specifically where those two areas of rotation are. So let's track specifically the rotation. We'll do it individually, moving east-southeast at around 50 miles an hour. So we know that that first area of rotation is right here. Matthew's showing it between Brandenburg and Ekron, and you can see he's traveling it out at 50 miles an hour. Davidson in 12 minutes. I need you to take your tornado safety precautions. Where? Downstairs, underneath something, center of the house, and let's keep away from windows. And I'll tell you guys, like I said, when we do the right things during this stuff, you know, we can look back and say it's a house or it's a tree or whatever it is that can be replaced. But I just don't need you outside going there at the dead of night and trying to shoot video of this. So 12 minutes from now in Davidson, 16 minutes from now in the Muldraw area, and 19 minutes from now in the Gaffey Heights area. Let's go further now to the south, and let's look at the rotation on the second area. And this one was over the Garfield area. Matthew, before you track it, can you just give me a scope, because Absolutely. It's past Garfield now, and it is near the Grayfield.
Velocity hasn't quite updated with the reflectivity.
And so what Matthew is saying is that the radar updates products during different scans. So we know that the reflectivity is going to be newer. So let's go back and let's remove the scope, and you'll see where the area of rotation is right over Graysville. So again, these are just things that as you've analyzed radar for a lifetime, you then know exactly where the rotation is. You notice Matthew moved that out 50, so it's going to 50 miles an hour. Graysville, tornado safe spot now. High plains, you have 7 minutes until a tornado could be moving over your area. It has had rotation for several scans now. And then 15 minutes from now in the Four Corners area. We're now going to view the wide perspective briefly so we can see, because I know many people in Louisville are going to wonder what this means for the city. New tornado warning. Let's actually stay with this. And that warning goes out way further. Weather Service obviously is getting a little more confident. Matthew, we had what we would refer to as short fuse warnings, which don't last that long, and now they're moving to longer fuse warnings.
Mark, I'm willing to bet that the one that's south of Brandenburg that's going to move in the Ekron area, that one may have a little bit of a better chance. I just think that that pinhole of rotation there with the brighter reflectivity on the southern side is more likely at this point to produce a tornado. But I do see the hook on the one that's east of Hardinsburg as well. So
we've had the area, the rotation has updated a little bit on Analyst right now. So I'm going to take you back over there. So the area that let me make sure we're on the right spot. So heading between Custer and around the Bewleyville area, the rotation area here on the right, you'll notice the greens and the reds are not as tightly packed as they once were. See this prior? I'd be shocked. I would be shocked tomorrow if we don't have a tornado that actually hit in this area. It just appears very, very likely to me that a tornado moved over. And this is US 60, 3 miles east of Hardinsburg. But notice on the current scan, that area of rotation is now diffused, but at least it speaks to the idea that we're going to see an uptick and downtick on these areas of rotation. Then the secondary area of rotation, I'm going to move you to the north, and this is what Matthew just alluded to, that's heading right between Ekron and Brandenburg. This one is showing a better area of rotation right now. That is where we're most concerned about a quick spin occurring, and it's going to go about a mile north of Ekron. So from here, I'm going to put a marker on here so you know exactly where I'm looking at, and then from there, what we're going to do is assess are we seeing any debris being lofted. So you can see my markers right here, and what we don't see are any holes right over that area. So while that's a positive, we're definitely still not out of the woods yet on this thing. The storms are still showing rotation. New update there on the radar. There's multiple areas of rotation right now, either side of between Brandenburg and Ekron, and that really is showing up very, very well. I just want to make sure, again, no debris showing up there. No debris on things as it stands right now. Matthew, I'm just going to move behind you, check what's going on with the Weather Service, and bring back over to HD where you're analyzing.
Sounds good. Again, we're going to zoom in on a couple of these little areas, velocity couplets. What's happening here is you get these little pushes of wind on the southern side of a small couplet, and it could cause a quick spin up. That's why they're warning some of these. So you see the brighter colors, and I'll point to them here for you guys. These brighter green and blue colors right there at the top of that pointer that I just pointed out. And on the northern side of it, it's kind of a fainter green. So if we were to change this over to a different velocity product, a storm relative velocity, taking into account the motion of the storm as well, you would see a little bit more red in there. That's what you were seeing over on our GR analyst that we were using earlier. But you see these very bright bluish green colors. They get pushed out from the storm. A quick spin up can happen, and it'll lift right back off of the ground. Oftentimes with these, Mark, we tend to see them around a minute, 2 minutes or so on the ground, and it doesn't stay long, but it can absolutely cause quick damage.
I think that's the most likely scenario. Just a note here, these are where we have tornado warnings for Meade, for northern Hardip, for western Bullitt. So if you're in Bullitt County right now, Shepherdsville, you're under a tornado warning. You're probably hearing the tornado sirens going off. In the Breckenridge area, Breckenridge County through Hardin County, which would include north of E-Town, or over the E-Town area, we are also now in a tornado warning. So be aware. It's obviously time to be weather aware, and the Storms Prediction Center, I believe, just put out another tornado watch. They did. That would include all of our southern counties until 3 a.m. So everybody within our area is going to go under a tornado warning. Matthew, I see you pointing on the analyst. I'm going to come over there to you. So just again for note here, you can see Brandenburg on the left of the screen there. There's definitely multiple areas of rotation now, Matthew. This is what we were concerned about. So we've got that area of rotation that's right along the Ohio River, just on the north side of Brandenburg, and then between Brandenburg and Ekron, we have areas of rotation. This is the classic.
Yes, QLCS embedded tornado type of scenario.
And this is what's going to go on tonight. We are going to see more of these potential tornado touchdowns. We've got to be aware of this. The line is going to rotate. You may never get a debris signature out of something like this. The reason you may never get a debris signature is because it happens so fast. If the rotation and turns into a tornado touchdown and it occurs in between scans, we may never see it. So there are limits in terms of what we can do. The area of rotation, let's look on the southern side. Oh, there's the new scan coming in right now.
So I think that the one further south looks like that rotation, it's still there, but it's
minimizing.
Much weaker.
Minimizing east of, that's east of Custer by 4 miles.
I'd say we should focus on the one to the north at this point that moved past Ekron now. So those that are in Ekron, I don't think that you have a tornado threat from this any longer. It's just, again, if you're talking Ekron proper, the central portion, but maybe you still have an area code or an address that's near there. Let's go east of, let's see, I think that's State Road 1051 is what that would be. Maybe some smaller roads. That's by just
about a half a mile. It's very, very close.
Some smaller roads. Doe Valley West Drive would be an area that this could be along. Let's see, Fairway Drive as well. If you know those roads, if you live in this area, Old Mill Road, those are spots where the rotation is moving over right now. There was another area of rotation near Laconia, but it looks like that has briefly weakened some.
I would agree on that too.
So, but what we're going to have, as we've already said, we're going to get these little bitty areas of rotation constantly, off and on.
And Louisville is now under a severe thunderstorm warning, and it's
south of 64, like you said.
Yeah, and so, you know, like I said, radar analysis works. It absolutely works. And what we know is that, you know, I kind of sometimes boil this down to just, if you cook, I'll be honest, I'm not a very good cook in any way, shape, or form, but you know that the ingredients are important. And one of those ingredients is warm, humid air. So when we were able to trace that outflow boundary that was coming in, that was north of 64, we were able to determine and analyze that there's less fuel there. You can obviously see the Weather Service is using very, very similar analysis in that they know where that outflow is located and they're biasing south of that outflow, which is sound science, and credit to the Weather Service on that. But we now have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the southern end of Louisville. Let me look at what the information is on this warning right now. Severe thunderstorm warning, that is, let's make sure I have the
yeah.
Okay, so this is for Bullitt, Harrison, and Jefferson County. 60-mile-an-hour winds are going to be possible. PRP, Valley Station, Fairdale, Newburgh. This includes the Fairmount area through around, let's say, Glen Mary, and the southern half of Louisville. Then we go into Bullitt County, and it includes the northern side of Bullitt County. And most of Bullitt County is under a warning right now. That's going to be west of Mount Washington. But what we notice here, when we look very specifically, and Matthew, it's an oculus, and it's very obvious. You can see it's a very, very smooth line on the north. And then where we have our tornado warnings, you can start to see how it looks like a wavy ocean. And the wavy ocean is just these embedded areas of rotation. Why would it do that? It would do that because if something's rotating like this, it's going to be pushing this way on the northern side of the storm, and on the southern side it's going to push it out in advance. So everywhere you see one of those waves where the wave comes out towards the east is where we see that area of rotation. And we have multiple areas that are showing rotation, and now I'm seeing on your screen, Matthew, the radar is indicating what we call a tornado vortex signature. Long ago we determined through radar science that we would be able to determine when we thought that rotation at multiple levels was most likely to generate a tornado. And the term we used was tornado vortex signature. That is heading right towards Muldrow. Yeah,
and actually the scans are a little bit behind, Mark, extra behind compared to what they normally are. So
I know, that's why I'm staying on analyst when it comes to velocity. I think analyst is going to be the better, but this is almost on the Muldrow area.
Yeah, so the just northeast of Muldrow is where this is. Once velocity catches back up to where reflectivity, our rain, is showing, we will see this little nook and cranny make its way north of Muldrow here soon, or in Muldrow. So that'll only be a couple of minutes. Hopefully we get that latest scan in. But there you go. There's the little nook that I was talking about, going to move between Rockhaven and Davidson.
And so let's go ahead, Matthew. I'm going to head back over to the wall briefly. Okay. And let's do some tracks here again, wide, and we'll do tight. We have severe thunderstorm warnings. And again, I will say what I just told you earlier and what I've been saying in my videos all night, that at least 75% of our counties are going to go under warnings tonight. And just remember, when what we have to do is we have to prepare you. What we can't say is that you're going to see severe weather in every location under the warnings. So Matthew, I just want to note here, be careful on the speed. Yes. There you go.
Sorry about that earlier.
So we just want to make sure we get proper speed here. And what this basically does is I want you to get an exact time. So it's over Muldrow. And remember, Muldrow, you could be seeing a tornado. I need you in your tornado safe spot now. It's past time for that. You've already got to be doing that. The severe portion of the line, and we'll just go through what we mean for severe, and then we'll focus on where the tornado concern is. So in 10 minutes from now, it's going to be in Rhineyville, Okolona. Let's go ahead and elevate concern now. You've got 17 minutes until a potential severe storm. We've got 19 minutes until E-Town. Remember, we've got a camera on the 800 building we will look at, and we've got a camera that's aimed west out of E-Town that we will be watching. 24 minutes from now in the J-Town area and 34 minutes from now in Cox's Creek. This would cover the broader perspective. Matthew, if I want to also just take a look south of that line as well. Call. Let's get the severe thunderstorm and let's zoom towards Grayson County, because I don't want to miss you in Grayson County. I know you're going to be concerned. The stronger part of the line is to your north right now, but that doesn't mean that we still are not watching you very closely. So we want to do a track on the southern part, and you can see Matthew there going at about 50 miles an hour, puts it in Caneyville around 3 minutes from now, puts it in the Rhineyville area.
Oh, sorry, Mark.
We're dancing, my friend. Puts it in the Litchfield area 13 minutes from now, 20 minutes from now in E-Town on the southern portion of the line, and about 24 in Booth. Now we're going to go into the part of the warning that is the tornado warned. We've seen the rotation come back a little bit just west of E-Town. Let's do the northern part of the line, and I know you can probably browse over too while we're doing this and see how well this is matching up on Analyst. So we've got that area of rotation that's in the rural northwestern part of Grayson County, of Hardin County, moving towards E-Town, and then we have that area of rotation that's right over Muldrow. Let's scope after we track, and then we will get a sense of where we have rotation and when. So 3 minutes from now in Four Corners on the southern part of that line. So you need to be careful for that. Then the northern part of the line is going to be in Pitts Point 15 minutes from now. E-Town, potentially just to your north, would be that area of rotation if it holds. But remember, these could be more of what we refer to as quick spins, so we don't know that the tornadoes would touch down ultra long. So saying that it could be producing a tornado this entire time would probably be a long stretch. But we're looking down the line and we're seeing, again, these little notches all along this line. And wait for the radar to come around, because I can tell we're about to get a scan update.
Yep.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised, Mark, if there was also one just north of West Point here soon. There was a little notch in there earlier.
Okay. So, Matthew, could we briefly scope? I want to see if I just want to see if the velocity is staying on point.
No.
There's what Matthew's alluding to. Remember, the velocity is about 2 minutes behind now. So I'm going to point to you, this velocity area of rotation is going to be right here. And that means, as Matthew noted, it's very close to West Point. Here's my problem, guys. This is looking at about 1,000 to 800 feet above the ground, which means it's looking at very, very low level rotation. When you see rotation that's really close to the ground, as Matthew noted, it does cause a little bit of pop in terms of your concern level. And so we need to watch this very, very closely. A tornado could form with little or no notice here out of West Point. And the area of rotation that was near the Davidson area, remember, I'm going to show you where I think it is. It's now right over Muldrow. So if you're in Muldrow, you've got to be in your safe spot in this moment right now. Eventually, it's going to go right along the Ohio River, and it is going to move just basically near the Pitts Point area. I should say the county line, forgive me on that, but it's going to go right north of the Pitts Point area, just north of the Hardin, Shepherd, or Bullitt County line is where it's going to be, near Pitts Point. Let's go now a little further south, Matthew, and I want to see that second tornado warning. That area of rotation was king when we went on air initially, but that area of rotation has definitely shown some issues. Near the Four Corners area, that's where our rotation is. Remember, the velocity has been lagging a little bit, so I'm going to put it now on 220, halfway between the Four Corners area and Rineyville. I need you to be taking your tornado safe precautions right now in Rineyville, and then eventually that's going to be moving towards E-Town. So we are going to continue to watch these areas of rotation closely. Matthew, on the analyst, have you seen anything that would indicate that we've had a touchdown at this point? And I'm going to come right back over to you on the analyst.
Nothing that screams touchdown right off the rip. At this point, yeah, I'm not seeing anything that says a tornado has for sure touched down in any of these three areas that we've been pointing to. Technically, only 2 areas are warned for the tornado warning, but there was a third one that we saw that's within the tornado warning near West Point. However, I think that they were primarily hitting that tornado warning for Muldrow area.
And in Meade County, the Kentucky Mesonet site just measured a 67-mile-an-hour wind gust. So that was 8 minutes ago, 67 mile an hour. That's why the 70 mile an hour on the severe thunderstorm warning is real. We've already got that confirmed. I said this on a lot of the videos that I did today, is that we don't have a lot of leaves on our trees right now, and that is a positive out of this. Since we don't have a lot of leaves on our trees right now, there's a little less drag. And so maybe those 60 to 70 mile an hour winds won't cause as extensive power outages or damage as it would if it was 2 weeks later and our leaves were in full bloom in the area and we had leaves everywhere. So the hope is that that would protect us a little bit.
Right. But
we continue to watch these areas of rotation. As far as it jumping out at me and screaming right now, I got to say, I think that it doesn't look as concerning as it once did, but this is a scan-by-scan scenario. That there's the new warning. So in a sense, what they did is they chopped that warning. Yeah. The reason they chopped the warning is because west of Muldrow, the rotation's already passed. So they don't want to have a warning. And this is on top of the radar site. Yep. So in Fort Knox,
this is the cone of silence.
A tornado could be touching down. And I'll show you on our other radar source here. I'm going to move right in, and I want you to see what when we say cone of silence, what that means, the radar cannot see when there's something that's directly on top of it. And so you see that hole that exists around the radar site. So this is now on top. The rotation is literally on top of the radar site. I'll show you as we look at that. That is a scope inside there. And you can see there are some bright blues there that are over West Point, but we don't know what's south of it because it's in the cone of silence there. You know, the other thing that's interesting to note here, Matthew, is it does look like there's a hint of an area of rotation also south of the radar site, and that's the area of rotation that just went through Muldrow.
Can we take that back a couple scans?
It's a good point, actually. Let's go over to velocity here and move backward. So what we're going to be able to do is see where the rotation was and get a sense of what occurred and where it's going. So this is the 9:39 scan, Matthew. This is a scan from 5 minutes ago showing the area of rotation that was near the Davidson area, and then the second that was right along the Ohio River approaching West Point.
Yeah. So we had a couple different areas of rotation, one up there, one down here. And I'm interested to see if this one down here south of Davidson, it's got to be. I mean, if we were to line that up, I would agree. It's got to be the exact same area of rotation. So you've got your radar right here directly south of that cone of silence. We're blessed to actually be able to see this. You can see winds going away in red, winds going toward the radar in green. That is a perfect setup for an area of rotation. I mean, this is classic when we're talking about a small area of rotation embedded within a line of storms. It does not get more classic than that for a QLCS, does it, Mark?
No, and then we have that area that's right over the radar site, but all we know is that there is inbound right there, but we don't know what's on the other side of that because it's buried in there. Matthew, with the velocity up, I'm going to take you south so you can take a look at what we've got ongoing on the southern part of the line where the tornado warning is in effect for Breck and then into the western part of Hardin County.
So I know along 220 is where this one originally was that came out of Four Corners and is heading toward Rineyville. However, this is not nearly as concerning to me because where the red and the green match up right here, it's not super bright. It's actually brighter further outside of the storm than it is inside. So in here, I always talk about bright, tight rotation. It doesn't really appear that we have much of either of those, but especially not bright colors next to each other. But that tiny little spot of rotation, I mean, a true pinpoint rotation just south of our cone of silence.
New tornado warning on the northern side. This is the cone. That's for the cone.
That's the one that we were talking about, Mark. The one that was going to be north of West Point is now warned south of the Gene Snyder.
So southern half of Louisville, now you're under a tornado warning. Matthew, I just want to get you that info just so you have it as you take a look. Tornado warning is now in effect. This one is for southeast Harrison, southwest Jefferson, and Bullitt. This one's until 10 p.m. Eastern. Radar indicated on this. And I'm going to take you over to analysts real quickly, Matthew, because you'll be able to see that area of rotation is now, there's several. There's now an area of rotation in Louisville. That area is, and that has a notch on it. That one may actually be outside of the warning, Matthew.
It is. Right here is the notch that you're looking at, and that would be the Gene Snyder, would it not?
That's the Gene Snyder. So there's an area of rotation at minimum. Matthew, gates in there at peak are showing up at 62.2 knots. So that could mean 70-mile-an-hour winds, and of greater concern would be that thing has a hook on it.
Yeah. Do you have this on storm relative right now?
Let me make sure that's base. So this is on storm relative, Matthew.
There you go. Yeah. So you can see a little bit of the winds moving away, winds moving toward. It's not crazy. However, we don't just look at the winds of a storm, but we do look at the shape of the storm, which is what reflectivity tells us. It shows us the rain inside the storm, so you're able to see where the winds are pushing out some of that heavier rain, and that's what's happening right here along Gene Snyder. So that's another area that we've got to watch that's just now to the east of Valley Station.
And then the cone, the one that's coming through the cone is really, this is so complicated and happening so fast. The areas of rotation are upping and downing. Now, you'll notice, Matthew, it does appear that we're getting an uptick on that rotation near Radcliffe, and it does show on the reflectivity also that it has a notch there.
Another one right here. So again, these are going to usually be very brief. We talked about the possibility of EF2 plus tornadoes.
Sirens are going off in Louisville. Tornado sirens are going off in Louisville.
Now, is that exclusively because the southern county is inside that tornado warning?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so for those that are listening from downtown Louisville, those that are listening north of 264, you do not have a tornado warning for you, or at least not from what we saw just a few scans ago. Now, unless something has changed here, Mark, maybe we need to broaden it out, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm
I
going
think
to come
that
back over to
Gene
HD.
Snyder and South that has. Did they just put a new one out? No, that's the severe thunderstorm warning. So
Correct.
yeah, Gene Snyder and South for Jefferson County has that tornado warning right now.
And this is looking outside in downtown Louisville as this is a strong portion of the thunderstorm, but not severe. We're looking there. You can see that lightning going crazy. Then our camera in the New Albany area. Matthew, I want to go through the whole view here so we can spend some time on what we have going on, and you can see the perspective of the line.
So we mentioned earlier that we had an outflow boundary coming in from the north, and that just about everything that was going to be severe warned would be along and south of 64. That's exactly what we're seeing right now. All the severe thunderstorm warnings include the 64 corridor and south. So it doesn't get much better than that when you're talking about radar analysis and nowcasting. We have 3 tornado warnings in effect. All of them are for weak, brief rotation so far. But at this point, they're all moving pretty quickly, about 50 miles per hour. None of them, Mark, and you're looking at it right now, none of them have shown us a clear indication of I have touched down as a tornado.
We don't have any debris signatures when I'm looking right now at this. The area, but the whole thing has areas of rotation that are just absolutely spinning away on it. It breached the northern part of that. Weather Service is we've got reports now coming out of the Custer area of multiple reports of damage around the Hardin area. Okay. So around Hardin, we do have reports of damage.
Look at Fairdale right now.
Very concerning. Very concerning. Fairdale right now, minimum best case scenario is 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, but that is rotating. Fairdale, I need you in your tornado safe spot. Guys, listen to me here. I need your focus for a moment. If you're along the Gene Snyder, you got to get in your tornado safe spot now. You need to be in the safe spot now. This is racing off to the east. So in 7 minutes, that area rotation is going to be in the Smyrna area. It absolutely could tornado. Can we let our news team know, Mike, that they need to be checking in Jefferson County, southern part of the county? We have Stefan Johnson here. If we need to go to the southern part of the county, we would want to mobilize quickly. So 7 minutes from now, Smyrna, you need to be in your tornado safe spot right now. 12 minutes from now in the Fairmont area. It's 16 minutes from now in the Seatonville area, and route around 19 minutes. So beyond just what Matthew has tracked, Smyrna, here's Fern Creek, here's the Fairmont area. This right here would be Glen Mary's right here. And this is the Jefferson Bullitt County line. That area rotation is coming right down the Gene Snyder, just a touch south. Matthew, can we scope? I just want to make sure that this northern part here near Audubon Park is not showing any rotation. Let's move this a little further north and change the view. I just want to make sure we're being thorough here. Okay, I'm not seeing any rotation there, but it is very, very obvious in Fairdale. Matthew, this is buried in rain. Can you see on the analyst right now, in Fairdale, are we seeing any sign of debris? Because that is buried in rain. And just so you know what I'm telling Matthew.
It does look like there may, let's go to, let me pull it up for you here, Mark. We're going to go to our
analyst.
All right, so on Holly Villa.
Let me just make sure we're in the same spot. Okay, can we just zoom out just a moment? Could we just zoom this out just a pinch, Matthew, just so I can make sure we're exactly, okay. So this is crossing now I-65, and this is the Gene Snyder. So here's I-65, here's the Gene Snyder. Okay, Matthew, let's toggle back. I've got my hand on the area of rotation.
Okay, and you want me to use?
A correlation coefficient. I want to know if we have debris.
I think that's very close, Mark.
Okay, Matthew, can you give me on the other side, can you give me reflectivity? I just want to make sure that what we're looking at is buried in reflectivity. Okay, so that is some debris there.
I would say so.
We've got debris being lofted here right along I-65 and the Gene Snyder. Guys, take this seriously. We have something that's being lofted. If it's straight line winds, it's doing damage. If it's a tornado, it's doing damage. We have got to take this one seriously. South side of Louisville right now, heading along the Gene Snyder, along I-65. We've got an area that is rotating, that is doing damage. There is debris being lofted. I believe there's at least strong straight line winds doing damage. We may have a tornado on the ground. Matthew, we have observed?
I mean, we've got 2 other areas of rotation, one heading into Shepherdsville right now that's pretty decent, and one further south. south, north of Belmont.
Okay, so Matthew's noting right here, and this one is a little bit more interesting to me. Let's move down the line just again, so we're covering everybody that's seeing rotation.
There's another area.
Shepherdsville, this is I-65. So just west of the Belmont area of rotation here. Lebanon Junction, an area rotation here. Matthew, can we, and these are the hooks that correspond with that. Can we look at correlation coefficient here? And I just want to make sure that we're not seeing anything that says debris. Can you give me a marker on that right there, Matthew, just so we can make sure? I want to see where that is with respect to the rotation right now.
Let's place the marker there.
Yes.
All right, and
so our area of rotation is out in front, or that little hole was out in front, so this is not debris.
Okay.
That's good. Let's move a little bit further south. Storms are heading towards E-Town.
North of E-Town, I think, is where our area of rotation would be.
Okay, that's our area of rotation. That doesn't look as strong. Matthew, let's go back to Louisville. That one's our strongest rotation that we have right now. And understand what's happening here. The area of rotation is right along that boundary. Remember I told you that earlier, that cold air was pushing southward. That's creating this boundary, or an essential cold front that the rotation can spin across. And that area of rotation, that is super concerning, is just south of 65 Gene Snyder by around a half a mile. It's crossing over I-65 right now. This is Preston Highway. It's going to get back onto the Gene Snyder just as it passes Preston Highway, and then it may drift south of the Gene Snyder as we go towards Beulah Church and then ultimately towards Bardstown Road. What I want to do here is, let's again, Matthew, right here, let's stay tight on that if we could, on that rotation area. And I want to see right here, again, are we looking at any debris? There's the new scan. So the new scan right here, this is this Bardstown Road, Matthew, we're looking at?
That would be Preston Highway.
Okay, Preston Highway here, Bardstown Road right here. So the area rotation just past Preston Highway. We're going to find out very quickly if it did damage. Preston Highway is a highly populated area. This is near the Lowe's down there. This is near the Menards. So this is an area that we will know very quickly if this did damage. It is going to go, this being Preston here, Beulah Church is in this area, and then Bardstown Road. So we're watching that area rotation. Matthew, can we switch so I have reflectivity on the other side and then rotation on the other, only for, it's easier for me to see if we can switch that way. So that's good, and then let's go reflectivity. Okay, so what I want to do here, Matthew, is can you give me the correlation coefficient? I just want to make sure that, see if we're seeing debris.
It doesn't look like what it did earlier.
It doesn't, and I think this little hole right here appears to be right here where there's a lack of rain.
Yeah.
So it may have done some damage a little bit earlier. I don't know if it's doing damage right now, but the area of rotation is right over Preston. I'm going to check something, Matthew, because we would know very quickly in Metro if this has done any damage with our power outage map. So I want to take a look at the power outage map that we have in Louisville. 1300 without power, this is doing damage. So we've got something that's done damage in Louisville. Understand what we're saying here. We're saying what we know is there was an area of rotation in Louisville. What we know is the radar showed that there was something being lofted in that area. And now, come full circle, we have then verification that something has happened in Louisville because we have 1,300 without power. Now, you may be saying that's not a ton of people without power, and I don't think we would argue that statement, but it may just be preliminarily trickling in right now. We know that something has occurred in Louisville, and we know that the line, and you've been really honed in on this, has continued to show some of these areas of rotation. And I'm going to come back over to you on analyst as you're analyzing one of those areas of rotation. This one's in Bullitt County.
Between Shepherdsville and Belmont. And I called this one out earlier. And let me give you a quick road to the west of I-65 that it's probably over right now. It does look like Preston Highway south of Shepherdsville, and the intersection with Shapeasy Lane. I may be saying that wrong, but if you're in that area right now, Pumpkin Road, Shapeasy Lane, let's go a little bit further to the east. Another one there is Happy Hollow Road. If you are in that region, please make sure that you get into your safe place immediately. They've actually just, let's see, that's the old warning overlapping with the new warning
Okay,
here.
so new one's coming out now. Let me make sure I get that information here for you.
Again, these are all radar indicated or have been so far. We haven't seen any warnings come out as radar confirmed, but there was that one that was along the Gene Snyder that definitely looked and is now east of Preston Highway that looked like it may have been radar confirmed briefly. What do you got?
64-mile-an-hour wind was reported at the airport when the storms moved through. This is comparable to what we saw on the winds that occurred about a week ago. That may be responsible for what did the damage.
The power outages?
We don't know exactly, but we know that something has done some damage in Louisville. The wider perspective, this is lit up like a Christmas tree. You can see, and I really touched deeply on this in that Facebook Live, these outflow boundaries. You know, when you were dealing with some of this in Alabama, you know exactly where I'm going with this. When you saw an outflow boundary intersect with some type of a front or a thunderstorm line, you updated that concern level, because basically this is going to enhance rotation. Yeah. And in a scenario like this where we're going to get rotation, those little tiny subtleties can mean the difference between radar indicated and we got a quick touchdown.
You know, we often talked about over the past couple of days veer back veer type of winds, and that maybe there was going to be a problem with the winds creating these tornadoes, but you had all the energy, the moisture, you had the lift, you had everything else, but the winds were the only thing in question. Well, when you add in that extra outflow boundary, now that gives a little extra twist to the situation, and so it can overcome what may have been lacking there earlier.
And there's a view in Louisville right now. This is from downtown Louisville, where we've got rotation ongoing here. We are getting some reports from our crews that are out there. We've got a garage on fire after a tree fell into a transformer. This is on North Ridge Drive near Prairie Village. We've got reports from other counties right now. So a barn has been demolished in Garfield, which I believe is in Meade County.
Yes, and that was where one of the tornado...
This is a bothersome one too, Matthew. There was a camper that was occupied with people staying in it outside of Brandenburg. We know that the camper has rolled, and the subject that is inside is trapped with injuries. So we have the occupant, it was just rescued. Hopefully they're not very serious injuries, but we know that there was somebody that was in a camper that was rolled in Brandenburg, and there are numerous trees and power lines down that are being reported from the emergency manager out of Meade County. Still with a tornado warning continuing right now for Jefferson County. We know that we have issues that are occurring. The National Weather Service is on backup ops now. What that means is that they're worried about losing power, or power has been affected. You can see the new tornado watch now includes the southern part of our area, and you know what, this, just like we kind of were worried about, this went from 0 to 100 so fast, Matthew.
And that's what happens with QLCS, is you get those brief, quick spin-ups. They're quick. They're very, very fast. You just get one portion that blows out ahead of the other. It spins something up real fast and can cause damage rapidly. So newest tornado warning update there for Jefferson County, the southeastern portion.
And it's kind of chopped.
Yes, they've chopped off the western side of it.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And basically that's just an update. What the Weather Service is saying is, hey, I was really concerned about that area rotation west, but that's moved further east now, so we're not as concerned.
For those that are further south, especially in Hardin County, south of E-Town, Mark, I would say that most of this now looks like straight line winds.
Good.
Would you?
Good, I agree.
We're losing the notches in there.
And I'm going to head over to the wall, Matthew, so we can spend some time on this one more time. I'm going to start with, let's start tight on Jefferson County, Matthew, and if we could, what I'd like to do is look at rotation. So we can look at that on StormView HD here.
The one we're on right now?
Yeah, okay. So let's zoom in a little bit in southern Jefferson County, and what I'd like to do is just show me velocity.
Okay.
So,
oh wow, they just chopped this one down. So there are two areas of rotation right next to each other.
And they're saying that this is near Bardstown Road or east. So let's just make sure.
Velocity's not updating with it again.
But that's fair. So the area of rotation here, this is going to be the Smyrna Road area. Smyrna Road exit along
there it goes.
Along the Gene Snyder, and then here is right over the Bardstown Road area. I'm very, very glad with what I'm seeing. The rotation's not as strong. However, so Fern Creek's here. This right here is going to be the Walmart. This right here is going to be the
Chick-fil-A.
So you're talking about some of our gas stations here. We also have Walmart's over here. We're basically just north. The rotation's gone past the past Bardstown Road here. So where we've got a lot of that new construction, where we have school, this is now pushing off to the east. So this is again getting into a more rural area. But here would be Billtown Road. right through here, and then Fisherville's up here. But the area rotation, Matthew, from my perspective, is definitely not as strong as it was. It went just north of Glen Mary. Again, this is going to be interesting to see. These are areas that are highly populated parts of Louisville, and we will know what's happened here. That area rotation went right near where the Coles is located. If you know this area, it went right near where the Coles is located out of Fern Creek. Let's now look a little bit further south. I want to just make sure, looking along the Jefferson County line at velocity here, to see where we stand. This area of rotation right now, north of Mount Washington along the Jefferson-Bullitt County line. This is Little Spring Farms right here. Area of rotation right now is going to be just across the Bullitt County line here, where there's a little bit of rotation. You know, the thing about this is, and I think you would agree, Matthew, the problem is that it may look like a little area rotation, but in 2 minutes when the new scan comes in, that has escalated, and we've seen it escalate up. And we've seen it escalating downward. So in Metro Louisville, let's do a track on the area rotation that just passed the Coles in the Fern Creek area and is moving off towards the east. Ultimately route, and Matthew's going to do one track on the area of rotation that's along the Jefferson-Bullitt County line. Whitfield 5 minutes from now, 14 minutes from now in the Normandy area, and then 16 minutes from now in the Rivals area. And then he's going to track the other area of rotation that we have. So this one's in Seatonville in 2 minutes from now, Route 6 minutes from now, and then Finchville 16 minutes from now. You need to take your tornado safety precautions. New tornado warning just issued
to cover
east
both.
of this. So this is going to now consolidate 2 tornado warnings into 1. And the tornadoes are going to continue potentially, if we're to see them, towards now southeast Jefferson County. This is going to be Billtown Road, Gene Snyder, and then it's going to be going near Whitfield, Crenshaw, Yoder, Littlemount, Fidgeville. It does include the Shelbyville area. And Matthew, could we zoom out just a pinch? I do believe Taylorsville is hidden behind our bug right there. Taylorsville is included. So Metro Louisville, we have seen now damage. We had rotation at the time. We don't for sure know if the damage was done by a tornado or straight line winds. We do know that 64-mile-an-hour winds occurred at the airport. These are the factual things that we know right now. What we're going to be finding out in the coming days is the Weather Service is going to survey, and we'll know what happened.
Mark, I do want to say in the Hardinsburg area, the report of a car overturned on 60.
And that's exactly where the rotation was. So we now have damage out of the Custer area. We now have Hardinsburg. We now have damage that we know of in Meade County where a camper was rolled. We have damage in Louisville. We don't have a knowledge of specific other than we know that just power outages, but we did have rotation at the time. Southward we go, and let's look at what's occurring now in Cox's Creek. This is going to be the southern Bullitt County tornado warning that's out there right now, heading towards Cox's Creek. So this is Bardstown Road, Cox's Creek, and Bardstown. It's problematic, Matthew. I assume you're seeing what I'm seeing. North of the Brownington area, we have our area rotation, and then along what I don't know which road this one is, but it's going towards.
Check for you.
So this area right here is also an area rotation, and then near the Lebanon Junction area. So south of Brownington, north of Brownington, Lebanon Junction. What do you have on this
Claremont Road?
Okay, Fairmont Road right here.
Claremont, C-L-E-R-M-O-N-T.
Claremont Road. Okay, good information, and that is moving east. So Cox's Creek and Bardstown, we need to be aware of this, and we do have severe thunderstorm warnings that are south of this. Matthew, I want to do a track. Let's just do a fan here, because there's so much of this that has been rotating that I think it's wise just to, if you're in this area I'm going to mention, you prepare as though a tornado could be coming towards you. High Grove 3 minutes from now, Cox's Creek 7 minutes from now, the Bloomfield area in 17 minutes, and Sparrow 28. What do? You go downstairs if you can. It's below ground is always easy, right? If you can't, that doesn't mean you're in a bad situation. You go to the center of the house. What does that mean? So if you've got a closet in the middle of your house, if you've got a bathroom in the middle of your house, why is that safer? There's several reasons. If there's debris being lofted, it's going to hit the outside of your house. Now, I'm not saying you want debris to hit the outside of your house. What I am saying is you want the debris to hit the outside of your house so it's not hitting you. If you're on the outside facing wall, you're going to be where the debris is hitting, and it puts your life in danger. I have seen in EF4 tornadoes where the center of the house is standing and it has very little damage. It is a safe place to be, even in strong to violent tornadoes. Obviously, EF5s would be a different animal, but we don't have anything that concerns us to that level. Zooming out here, we're going to take you through the Boston area, south of Lebanon Junction as we go into southern part of Nelson County. This is going to be towards LaRue County, and this is right over the E-Town area. We're going to scope, as Matthew, for thoroughness. I don't see any areas of rotation in there.
And we mentioned that this would probably be straight line winds, and they just severe thunderstorm warned it for that.
Okay, and let's go ahead and do a track on that portion of the line so we can get some updated times on that. You know, I will say this, guys. We knew that we were going to get severe weather tonight. I was very confident. You know, even all the videos I've done tonight, you could kind of see online some people were like, oh, this is going to be no big deal. 75–80% plus of our area will have gone under a severe or tornado warning when this is all done, and it may actually be every single county. 1 minute from now in the Boston area, 7 minutes from now in the Hodgenville area, 13 minutes for you in New Haven, Loretto, Kentucky, 26 minutes from now, and 33 minutes from now